The rescue mission. Paragraph 23. Make sure your pen is in your hand. You're getting ready to annotate. There were other lucky children that day who were saved by quick thinking. There were the Grabber boys who were lost on the prairie until they glimpsed a familiar tree, enabling them to find their bearings and get to their home. There was 11-year-old Stefan Ulrich who was lost, freezing, and nearly blind when he crashed into the side of a barn. Feeling his way to the entrance, he went inside and spent the night crawled up next to a hog whose warmth protected him from the cold. When Walter Allen's father, W.C., discovered that his youngest son hadn't come home from school, he and 4 other men headed back to the school, risking their lives. At the last moment, they allowed Walter's 18-year-old brother, Will, to join them. Will had always watched over his little brother. He refused to stay behind. The search party made it to the school, but Walter was nowhere to be found. W.C. became so distraught that his neighbors had to carry him back to the sled. Somehow, in the sadness and confusion, they left without Will. And now both Allen boys were lost in the storm. Hypothermia chart. This shows me air-water temperature, the time that you can be outside until you're unconscious, and how long you can survive. Wow, that's interesting. Paragraph 26. Although Will saw the sleds pull away, he remained focused on his search. He got down on his hands and knees and crawled along the frozen ground, feeling his way across every inch. He could not see or hear, and the wind made it difficult to breathe, but he kept searching until he bumped into a small heap covered with snow. It was Walter. He was unconscious but alive. More precious. I'm going to be thinking, what does this heading have to do with the text in front of me? Paragraph 28. During the hours that Will and Walter were fighting for their lives, hundreds of other children were caught in the grip of this killer storm. Hundreds never made it. Even decades later, Will could not explain how he managed to carry his unconscious brother through the blowing snow or how he managed to find his way home. It was as though the storm's fury had entered Will's veins, giving him the strength to walk against the wind, to rise up when he fell, to hold his little brother tight in his arms. They arrived home to the jubilation of their parents. Over the next few hours, Walter drifted in and out of consciousness as his family hovered over him. They warmed him slowly, they quieted his shivers. At first, his body was so numb that he didn't feel the tiny cuts on his leg from the shards of glass sticking out of his pocket. It wasn't until later that night that Walter realized his beloved perfume bottle had broken during the storm after all. Of course, by then it did not matter. Walter understood that something infinitely more precious had survived the blizzard, something that could never be replaced. Walter himself. Right now, please turn in your packet and answer questions 1 and 2.